Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Unbreakable. I'm Elle, and today we will be talking about Spoonies and its origin and what it means to be one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kay, and the spoon theory was created by a woman named Christine M. Her last name is really difficult to pronounce, so I'm not even going to disrespect her by butchering it. But you can find out more about her at butyoudon'tlooksick.com. So the spoon theory was something that she came up with when she was at lunch with one of her friends. They were getting ready to have their meal, and she took out all of her medications that she needed to take. And her friend looked at her and said, what is it really like to have lupus? And she struggled with a good way to explain it, but wondered how she really could word it so that her friend would really get it, because there's just so many things that it entails that normal people just don't even think about. I hate to say normal, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because your illness and energy is affected by what you do, the stress that you might be feeling, and your emotions. So all of that affects, your disease.
Mm-hmm.
So she grabbed 12 spoons from around the restaurant and she handed them to her friend and she said, "Congratulations, you now have lupus." Then she explained how each spoon represents the energy it takes to accomplish simple things that seem really difficult to somebody with a chronic disease, like taking a shower or making breakfast, which you can't skip breakfast because you need them to take those meds. Putting on makeup, all those things that you take for granted when you get ready and start your day. So as they talked about this, her friend realized she already spent half her spoons getting ready in this discussion that they were having. And she was overwhelmed at the thought of needing so many more in order to work, do chores, take care of her family. And this would be under the best circumstances on the best day, when her illness isn't flaring, when her pain isn't horrible that day, and when there wasn't a great deal of stress in her life, drama, things like that.
Right.
So when she realized all of this, she started crying, and because she realized how hard life was for her friend. And Christine was just overwhelmed by the thought that somebody who didn't have chronic illness finally really understood what she went through in her everyday life. So as this story got out, so many people related to it as an identifier, and they called it Spoonies.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know I identify as it, and I know you do as well. But we all have our different ways of identifying within the community. Of course, not everyone is the same. One of the ways, for me personally, is there's days where your to-do list, you're lucky if you get to tick one thing off of your to-do list in the day.
That's like most days.
Yes.
But yeah.
You have this, you might be lucky and have this list of like 5 things. Oh, that's not hard. I can do that. Nope. Not today. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, because what your list seems so easy to you mentally, your body's got a whole nother thing planned for you for that day. So
exactly, your body's like, yeah, let me show you something, because it's not gonna happen today.
Yeah.
So you pick up on that pretty quickly.
Well, I know for me, like if I go to a doctor's appointment, just for an example, like it's become like, today is doctor day, because I already know that getting up early is going to completely stress me out and make me really tired all day. I'm going to go to the doctor's office, which is going to consume most of my daily energy. I'm going to get home and I might have other things that I want to do that day, but I'm going to feel it almost feels like you haven't slept at all the night before. Like every bit of energy has been drained out of you. And you honestly don't know if you could do anything at all but just lay on the couch or take a nap or whatever, would make you replenish even a little bit, because we all know too as Spoonies that sleep doesn't necessarily cut it. That's not necessarily going to make it better. So yeah, those days are really, really difficult, and your eyes feel gritty and your bones are tired, and it's awful. It really is awful.
And for my personal experience with this, with the vision impairment and the hearing as well, with the Usher syndrome, and then you compile that with the fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue, just going to the doctor is like one of the most exhausting, because you're having to really focus. And I think you can understand this as well. We're just driving, which I can't do anymore. But looking back when my vision started to decline, just driving on the road to get to the doctor's appointment, just having to focus that much and concentrate that hard. And the process of getting to the doctor, going to the doctor, and getting back home, by the time you sat down on the couch, your whole body was, you realize just how much of you used up in that moment.
And you just made me think of something too with the driving thing. Another thing that Spoonies deal with is brain fog. That's a huge one.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Especially when you're tired. Yeah. The pain of existence, exactly. And this happens to a lot of people with chronic illness, according to my doctor after I told him this. There was one time I was driving home and all of a sudden, and I was like a block from my house. And all of a sudden, I literally did not know where I was. Wow. It was like I could have been dropped in a foreign city that I'd never been in, and it would have been, that's how unclear it was to me where I was going, and how to get home. And it was really scary.
That would be terrifying.
Right. So I told my doctor what happened, and he said, oh, yeah, that happens a lot, especially with people with lupus. It happens a lot. And I said, really? And he said, when it affects your central nervous system, you can have, larger issues with brain fog. And so at that point, he told me, you're not driving anymore, at least until you get a lot better. So I had to have people take me to and from the doctor.
I don't recall having it that badly, but just everyday kind of things where you're in the middle of a conversation or someone's talking to you and you are paying attention, but your brain just goes whoop.
Yeah.
You feel dumb and guilty in the same breath sometimes, because I was listening. I am so sorry.
Or even worse, you're talking to someone and you know a word and you just cannot recall it, and it halts the entire conversation. That makes me feel really dumb, and it's probably going to happen a lot on this podcast. But
yes, and usually for me, it's a word you use every day. You've used it a million times before, but for some reason, it's just fallen out of your brain for that split second.
It happens a lot, actually.
Yeah. Another one for me is, like I said, with the having a list, this one kind of goes in with that, which is, some days just keeping up with basic hygiene is an achievement.
Yeah.
Wow, I got a shower today. I feel good, and I was able to do it. I feel so great. You might pay for it, but you do feel better. But it is a basic achievement some days for me.
What about it is hard for you? Is it the fibromyalgia that's really kicking in when you have a hard time with taking a shower and stuff like that, or
the fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue, the basic energy part of it? With both of them, chronic fatigue is chronic fatigue. You're tired no matter what. And then, of course, with the fibromyalgia, you dealing with pain. So, of course, that's automatically going to drain your energy right away, too.
Right. Yeah.
So taking a shower, even if it's not necessarily painful, it's strenuous or something, depending on what all I do. If I take my bath and, that takes a little bit longer. It's more relaxing, but it takes a little longer time. So you have to decide, do I just take the shower, which is shorter, but it's not as relaxing?
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it does. I have some friends in the chronic illness community that some of them can't even take a shower without a shower chair, or they need assistance because their mobility is affected. So they feel like, I feel like I'm 80 years old. I can't even take a shower, which there's so many similarities between the elderly and people in the chronic illness community just because of those mobility issues and lack of energy. I think most of us have at least said more than once.
Yes.
We feel really old.
I mean, I will be completely honest with you. There have been days I'm like, oh, a shower chair would be so nice.
Mm-hmm. Right?
I wouldn't have to use it all the time. Just to have it those days where it's just, I can't. It's just, this is the only way that I could possibly do it today.
That's another thing too, though. I've noticed that, and it's probably more like I don't want to say pride, but a pride issue in a sense where there's all these things that we can use to help us, but in the same sense, we don't want to use them because I'm not ready to be using a walker on days that I feel like that, or I don't necessarily want to have a shower chair. But I mean, if it's going to make your life better.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I think my excuse is always, it's such a hassle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it basically boils down to the same thing with the excuse, really. If you
Yeah.
need it, if it makes life better, if it allows you to do it more often and you feel better, then your excuse is invalid in the end.
That's right. Get in that little scooter at the grocery store and go.
Whatever. Yeah. Shower chair, scooter, oxygen, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. Just, be smart. Take care of yourself. There's only one you. So.
And I know this isn't like covering Spoonie situations, but there is always a solution. So whatever's like holding you back, definitely. If you don't know the answer, ask your doctor. If your doctor doesn't know the answer, ask the chronic illness community, because I guarantee somebody has thought of it and they've thought of a solution.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Mm-hmm. Very true. So another one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say this is kind of a tie-in to both ends, because I think, well, I'm just gonna say it.
Okay.
So you get up in the morning and it's this whole, it's a job to get up in the morning, pep talk. It takes you a while. You're exhausted no matter how much sleep. We mentioned that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, then there's the opposite side of that where, you spend all day trying to stay awake, trying to keep yourself, get through the day, get everything done you need to, and you cannot wait to hit the sheets, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you cannot sleep.
Yeah.
You are exhausted. Your eyes are red. They feel dry as everything. You are tired. Everything is begging to sleep, but you cannot sleep.
I know. What is up with that anyway? Because it happens to me all the time.
It's not fair.
I know. I would love to get an answer from some sort of professional that can explain to me how this works. Makes no sense. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's not insomnia. I refuse to believe it's that. It's something completely different.
I would think so too. And I really would like to know, because it has to have something to do with how chronic illness affects your body chemistry. I would imagine.
I really do too, because it seems, for me anyway, I'm more awake at night because I feel almost more comfortable a lot of times, like more safe, because there's not a whole bunch of stuff going on. The stress and the drama is usually done by then. And it makes me wonder if...
I have felt that way too, where during the day, there's so much guilt and pressure. Like, I feel so guilty for what I'm not doing. I don't give myself credit for the things I am doing. But by the time when the day's over and everybody's like doing their own thing and sleeping, if you live with somebody or if you live on your own, you're not worried about the stuff because it's like, I'm not going to be doing that at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
All of a sudden, you finally mentally feel relaxed. And so I feel like that's a really good time to be awake when you're sick,
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
It makes sense to me anyway. So, yeah, maybe we'll get some feedback at some point.
Yeah, that would be good. Mm-hmm. That would be good.
So is there any other ones for you?
Well, I know that pain has a lot to do with energy as well. So In my situation, pain was one of the first things that really showed up for me in like my joints. So walking was an issue. My knees were an issue. Just sitting down in a chair and standing back up would hurt. Going to bed at night, my body would just, by nighttime, I was just killing. But I mean, maybe a lot of people realize this, but when you're in pain, it takes every ounce of energy for your body to just deal with that pain. And I don't think a lot of people who are like, there's a lot of people fighting against pain medications for anybody. And it's really hurting the chronic illness community because pain has a absolute negative effect on your body over the long term. It's almost like its own illness. So when you are in pain every day and it wears and wears and wears on you, there is no energy left to do anything else. So for me, and so, well, on top of that too, is like, you don't know what days you're going to have pain. So you could wake up one day and be perfectly great and say, I'm going to do all this stuff tomorrow and make plans. And then you wake up and it's like a ton of bricks has hit you overnight and everything is different.
Well, absolutely. That's something I can relate to as well. You know, you wake up in the morning and you're literally processing your body going, okay, what am I going to be able to do today? Some days, you know, for me, I often say I was my age yesterday, but today I feel like I'm 98.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give me my cane. I'll walk hunched over. I can do that because I really feel that way right now. Which I believe a lot of people with chronic pain, like you said, I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah, and then like all the extra medications you have to take when you're feeling that way, and you don't know. All ties together because you don't know how much your medications are giving you the brain fog that we're all dealing with.
Right.
So medications is a huge part of all this.
Right. Speaking of medication, you know what I'm going with this one, but
yeah.
Spoonies, you know, we all have that big pill box, you know, the probably bigger than your purse.
Exactly. Yes, it is. Mine is like so huge. It has all the days across. It has four compartments for each day, and enough in each compartment for like a handful of pills. So it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the actual pill bottles in like an old box that was shipped, you know, something was shipped to me, and I have those in there, and then I have my days of the week. Luckily I only have to take it twice a day, so I'm lucky in that regard. But yeah, it's still, you know, people look at you like, you shouldn't have a pill bottle at your age. Well, I do, because it keeps me sane. So
because trying to figure out if I've taken something already, brain fog again.
Exactly.
Taking it twice, not taking it, I mean, it just completely messes you up. And so, yeah, it's like a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to use one of those and not have to worry about that anymore.
Right.
And if you, like, I don't know about you, but like on my Facebook feed, people will post like their morning medication, just as an example, and they will have a handful of pills. And some of them might be like, I don't know, vitamins, supplements that help also, but I mean, a handful of pills. So
my dad is the same way, but it is 4 times a day like that, pretty much.
Yeah.
It is unreal how much medication he has to take, but when you realize that if it wasn't for those medications, he wouldn't be here.
Right.
It's also an incredible thing too.
I know, because there's a lot of people out there that are saying, you know, I wouldn't take all those medications. There's natural ways that you can deal
not
with
for everything, unfortunately.
No, if you have lupus, which is incurable, will basically affect all of your organs at some point if you leave it untreated, and can be fatal. not taking medications is really not an option. So
Right.
medicine as food is great, guys, but it's not going to cure your lupus.
Exactly.
And on top of medications too, I don't know about you, but I'm on a first name basis with the people at my pharmacy. As well as the doctor. It's like social events going to see them because they know me by name. And it's like walking into Cheers or the old Cheers show where they're like, Norm! Oh, how times have changed where the pharmacy's greeting me that way now instead.
Yeah, well, it's like when they know you, though, at least they're going to get your medicine right.
It's true. That is true.
And my doctor, I really love the familiarity that I have with the staff, and my doctor, because it's not just going to see my doctor. Some of them, it's almost to the point where it's almost like a friend as well, because they actually do care about how you are progressing and how you are doing.
Absolutely. And
because
I mean,
you found those people that are in the field for the right reason.
And they're a part of your management team, of your disease. There's all these people that make such a difference in your life. So how could you not feel that way about them? It's great when they actually take a really close interest in you. And if you don't have that, you should find it. Because
I was just going to say, and if you don't have that, you need to keep looking, because until you do, seriously, it is an amazing treatment just to have a doctor who cares.
Just to feel heard, because a lot of times people don't even believe you're sick. So just to feel heard means a lot to your spirit. And there's a component. If your spirit's happy, the rest of you does a little bit better. So
yes.
Okay, so Elle.
Yes.
I heard we have a really unusual question of the week this week.
Yes, we do.
So what is it?
Well, it's actually a personal question for both of us. So I was kind of surprised by that, because I didn't think anybody would want to know anything right now. But it is, how did we meet?
Well, why would anybody want to know that? Okay. So we met online, like a lot of people do nowadays. And and we talked online for, I don't know, how long was it? A few months anyways.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then we finally decided to meet up. We live within an hour of each other. So we were like, why not? We're getting along so well. And as soon as we met each other, it was like, you know how you meet those people every so often. Yeah, kismet. Thank you. That's perfect. Where you just feel like you've known each other forever. There's really not a lot of having to get to know you, because you just feel like you already know each other. And we just clicked like that easily. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I mean, we did not miss a beat. There was no awkward moments or anything. It was really cool.
Yeah. And so, since then we've hung out a bunch of times, and we've had Elle over for Thanksgiving and just the whole 9 yards. So yeah, guys, we go out there and meet people, because you never know who's going to make a big difference in your life.
Right. No, let's rephrase this a minute. Don't go out and do that now. Like, meet them online now.
Right.
Do the meeting online now. This is the time to get to know them and make sure, they're not weird or whatever. But don't.
Way to go, Kay. You're making people hang out with all these weirdos on the internet.
I'm not going to be the one responsible for somebody saying, hey, I took your advice. And that.
Kay told me it was cool, and I ended up with a stalker. Thanks a lot, Kay.
So everything in moderation, use your brain. No insult intended, but just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
But okay, so on the not so lighter side, so the topic of next week will be a little harsh, a little deep, and a little darker, and that will be depression. We will be sharing our personal experiences, as well as exploring what all depression entails.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be difficult to talk about. Most people don't want to talk about it, which is why we need to have the conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
So be kind, guys, but definitely leave us your feedback because that'll help everyone. I think if we can just, if it sparks a conversation even on our social media pages, we would be so happy to have that conversation with everyone.
Right. If you have your questions before, get your questions out before, our next podcast, and we'll include those. That's why we're including questions like we are. So if you have questions about depression, please feel free to reach out to us with them.
Yeah, leave your comments, your questions on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. We will have all the links to those places here in the description. You can also leave your questions here, of course. And if you have a question that you don't want everyone to see, and maybe you want to have a private conversation with us or either one of us, you can do that on Facebook and just shoot us a message there privately, and we'll be happy to talk to you. We can also refer you to any of the chronic illnesses communities that we're talking about, or anything else that you might be interested in finding. If we have the resources available, we will certainly share them with you.
Absolutely.
And so that leaves us with the quote of the week, which is, not being able to do much as others does not make you a failure. So keep in mind that your value and your worth is not wrapped up in your productivity. It is all about the person that you are.
It's not what society requires of you. It's who you are as a person.
Exactly. That's right. And so until next time, guys, be well.
Stay safe. Bye.